Hello friends, so today I have taken the photo of Dr. Anuj sir in my thumbnail. The main purpose is to give the detailed explanation of the short. See the short.
Flights, make sure you watch this video carefully. A 65-year-old woman was traveling from Los Angeles to Singapore on a 17-hour long flight. In this flight, she was absolutely normal. She had no complaints whatsoever. The problem started when the flight actually landed and she started walking. While walking, she noticed that she was not able to breathe properly. After a few minutes, she started to turn blue, a clinical condition that we call as cyanosis. It happens when you have less oxygen concentration in your blood, which means that the lungs are not working. You see, when doing a CT scan, the doctors could tell that there was a big blood clot which was stuck in her pulmonary arteries. So how is a long flight related to this? When you're sitting for a very long time and you're not moving your legs like this old lady, by the virtue of stasis and stagnation of blood, the blood starts to clot. Once you start walking, the clot can dislodge and enter your pulmonary artery, where it could be stuck in a clinical entity known as pulmonary embolism. So what are the safety measures that you can take? You can try to keep your legs moving like going to the washroom in long flights, or even squeezing your calf from time to time.
So through this video, I want to explain how does a long flight cause cyanosis. So in today's video, I'm going to discuss what is deep vein thrombosis, DVT. How does DVT, deep vein thrombosis, lead to pulmonary embolism? How does pulmonary embolism lead to cyanosis? So first of all, let's discuss about a definition of thrombosis. So here see that this is a blood vessel where the blood flow is normal and the lumen is normal, as it is neither widened nor narrow, and this is the blood endothelium, it is also normal. But now let's see that due to an abnormal condition, see that, so here an abnormal condition occurs. Now here due to that abnormal condition, that here basically that is a subendothelium is normal, but see that here a blood clot formation occurs. So here, and this blood clot formation occurs in an abnormal condition. Why? Because normally blood clot formation occurs when the subendothelium is damaged and bleeding occurs. But since in this case that is subendothelium is normal and no bleeding is occurring, so therefore that a blood clot which is formed in this condition is an abnormal, and that abnormal blood clot formation is known as, so here, thrombus, and that condition is known as thrombosis. So therefore that I written that when a blood clot formation takes place in the lumen of blood vessel in an abnormal condition like blood clot form, but there is no bleeding occurring, and that abnormal blood clot formation is known as thrombosis, and that abnormal blood clot which is formed is known as thrombus. So first we have discussed about a definition of thrombosis. Now there is discussed about the cause, and this cause is mainly vasodilation. So here stresses can cause thrombosis, hypercoagulability or hypercoagulation can cause thrombosis, or endothelial injury can cause thrombosis. So first I am going to discuss how that is stresses causes thrombosis. But before this you should see the normal axial blood flow. See. So in the normal axial blood flow, if you notice that, so here central stream is present, and this central stream contains, so here leukocytes means WBCs and RBCs, and here and between the platelets and blood endothelium you notice that plasma is there, and this plasma in a normal condition prevents the platelet adhesion with the blood endothelium. As a result, no blood clot formation occurs in a normal situation. But in stresses, what happens is that this plasma cell between the platelets and blood endothelium is absent, and also that this stresses contains only platelets and RBCs. So this is the problem. So this is the concept of normal, that normally plasma cell prevents abnormal blood clot formation by preventing the adhesion of platelets with with endothelium. But that in case of stresses, that since there is no plasma cells, so abnormally, so here see that abnormally, so here adhesion between platelets and blood endothelium occurs, and later due to this abnormal adhesion between platelets and blood endothelium, so here abnormal blood clot formation occurs as the subendothelium is normal and no bleeding occurs, and that abnormal blood clot formation is a thrombus. So here in this way, so here stasis leads to thrombosis, and the main reason is this. So here because of the absence of plasma cell between the platelets and blood endothelium. As a result, so here platelets, so here abnormally adhesion occurs between these platelets and blood endothelium. So again, this is the summary. So here due to the abnormal adhesion between platelet and endothelium, thrombosis occurs. So here stasis means no plasma cell present, so therefore abnormal adhesion between platelet and endothelium, so therefore thrombosis occurs. So now I want to discuss how hypercoagulation leads to, so here thrombosis. So this is a normal situation, and this is the case of hypercoagulation. So in a normal, you see that coagulative factors is equal to anticoagulative factors. That means the concentration of coagulative factors is balanced by the concentration of anticoagulative factors. And the concentration of coagulative factors increases only when there is bleeding. And the main purpose is to stop bleeding, and this is the concept of hemostasis. And again, when the bleeding is stopped, again the concentration of these coagulative factors and then that of anticoagulative factors balance. But in case of hypercoagulation, if you see that the concentration of coagulative factors is always greater than the anticoagulative factors, and these coagulative factors increase even if there is no bleeding. And due to more coagulative factors, that is abnormally blood clot formation occurs, and that leads to thrombosis. Due to more coagulative factors, thrombosis occurs. So in this way, hypercoagulation leads to thrombosis. So see, so this is the normal blood vessel. As the lumen is normal, endothelium is there, and again, so here normal blood flow is occurring. But now see that there are some toxins are there, and these toxins, so here basically release chemicals, and due to this, so here endothelium is only damaged, but the subendothelium is still normal. Now see that so here in this way endothelium is damaged, and so here that in this damaged endothelium glycoprotein is exposed. And due to that exposed glycoprotein, so here platelets, they are easily adhered to the damaged endothelium. And again, so here due to this abnormal, so here adhesion between platelets and damaged endothelium, so here blood clot formation occurs. Now why again basically abnormal? Because there is no damage to subendothelium, so no bleeding. And therefore that I have written that, so therefore no bleeding occurs as subendothelium is normal. So all these portions I have written in my notes. So here see that, so here endothelial injury occurs due to toxins, but this endothelial injury does not lead to subendothelial damage and bleeding. Now the glycoprotein of the injured endothelium exposed, and the platelets attracted or adhered to the injured endothelium due to exposure of glycoprotein, and this leads to thrombosis. So therefore these are the three main causes of thrombosis. So the first one is the stasis, second one is the hypercoagulation, third one is the endothelial injury. Now so here thrombosis can occur in artery as well as in vein, but a thrombosis that occurring in vein is known as venous thrombosis. And in venous thrombosis, so here normally the venous thrombosis occurs in the deep veins of lower limb. So venous thrombosis normally occurs in deep veins of lower limbs, and when this venous thrombosis occurs in deep veins of lower limbs, then deep venous thrombosis occurs. And in this way, in this case, so here basically deep venous thrombosis occurs. So if you notice in the case here deep venous thrombosis occurs. Now later from this deep venous thrombosis pulmonary embolism will occur. Again I am going to tell you how. So therefore that if you see the case, so here in this case again, So here that is venous thrombosis occurs in the, so here veins of lower limb on prolonged stitching. See the case. Due to prolonged stitching, the blood flow slows down. This causes stasis, and this stasis leads to thrombosis. But you should know that is how this prolonged stitching leads to, so here slowing of blood. So first of all, that you should know that the contraction and relaxation of calf muscles is very essential, because that this contraction and relaxation of calf muscles, so here mainly feel lower limbs good and perfect. If that the contraction and relaxation of calf muscles don't occur, then the blood circulation of especially deoxygenated blood circulation in the lower limb is hindered. And therefore that I have written that the contraction and relaxation of calf muscles essential for the proper blood circulation in the lower limb. Now here in prolonged sitting, the contraction and relaxation of calf muscles don't work. As a result, the blood circulation in the lower limb hindered. And this leads to slowing of blood flow, and this slowing of blood flow leads to stasis, and you know that this stasis is also one of the causes of thrombosis, and out of thrombosis that it leads to deep venous thrombosis in lower limb. So here in this deep venous thrombosis occurs in the patient. Now, so before understanding how pulmonary embolism is caused, so first of all you should know what is the definition of embolus. So first of all, if you see that this is a blood vessel, this is vein, these are the blood cells. Now here that in the blood vessel wall, that this is the attached intravascular object. It always stays in the blood vessel, it does not carry it by the blood. But when that same object detach and it is carried along with the blood, then that is known as embolus. So therefore detached intravascular object which is carried by blood is known as embolus. So therefore the detached intravascular object carried by the blood from the point of origin to distant site, and that detached intravascular object is known as embolus, and that condition is known as embolism. Now see here, so this is a thrombus. Now here thrombus is always attached to blood vessel, but when it is detached from the wall of the blood vessel and it is carried by the blood, then that thrombus becomes embolus. So therefore I have written thrombus always attached to a blood vessel, and when it detached from the blood vessel it becomes embolus. And what is thromboembolism? The condition through which thrombus becomes embolus, and that is known as thromboembolism. So here condition when the thrombus becomes embolus and carried along with blood is known as thromboembolism. And here that, and again, so here deep vein thrombus can also become embolus. Now, so here see the venous drainage of lower limb. If you see, you will find that all the veins of lower limb, whether femoral veins, superficial veins or deep veins of lower limb, all these veins drain their deoxygenated blood into the inferior vena cava. And from inferior vena cava, this deoxygenated blood goes into the heart, and from heart it goes into pulmonary artery. So this is the flow of deoxygenated blood from lower limb to lungs. All veins of lower limb drain deoxygenated blood to inferior vena cava. Then from inferior vena cava, blood goes to right atrium, and then in the right ventricle, and then in the pulmonary artery, and then it comes in the pulmonary capillary. Now here in the pulmonary capillary, exchange of gases occurs, and due to this exchange of gases, oxygen enters and carbon dioxide release, and that deoxygenated blood becomes oxygenated blood. So therefore, so this is a normal. But here, as I already mentioned, that this embolus carried by blood. That means along with the blood, that this embolus is also carried from the lower veins of the deep veins of lower limb up to this pulmonary capillary through this blood circulation. So therefore I written from lower limb embolus comes up to the pulmonary capillaries through this blood circulation. Now see the image of pulmonary embolism. Now that in that pulmonary capillaries or pulmonary arteries, so here basically embolus is present, and that presence of embolus in the pulmonary capillaries leads to pulmonary embolism, and then this pulmonary embolism decreases the or affects the gaseous exchange. As a result, what happens? Less oxygen capture and less oxygen supply to the body tissues, and that leads to cyanosis. So therefore that I have written that. So what is pulmonary embolism? So therefore that embolus in pulmonary capillaries affects gaseous exchange, and as a result less oxygen captured and less oxygen supply to the body tissues, and this leads to cyanosis. And this leads to cyanosis. And this leads to cyanosis. That's all. So first of all, that deep vein thrombosis occurs. So here the deep vein thrombosis occurs. So here that this is a deep vein thrombosis, and this deep vein thrombosis leads to pulmonary embolism, and then this pulmonary embolism leads to cyanosis. That's all. So therefore that in this case, so if you see that due to prolonged stitching, if you see that there is no contraction and relaxation of calf muscles, so therefore deep vein thrombosis occurs, and then this embolus from the lower veins of lower limb, it is carried up to the that is pulmonary capillaries through this blood circulation, and then in pulmonary capillaries, so here again it affects the gaseous exchange, and with the affection of the gaseous exchange again cyanosis occurs. So this is the case.